Today I visit with a performing artist, a visual artist, Allena Yates of Warrenburg, Missouri. I'm Rick J., and this is Spotlight on the Arts.
Rick J. presents Spotlight on the Arts.
Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts, coming to you today from the Lamey's building, the old jean factory, Levi's Jean Factory in Sedalia, Missouri, which has been redone into a restaurant, a lounge, and offices, etc. It's all in Missouri, Sedalia, Missouri. If you would, please join me now in welcoming Mrs. Allena Yates from Warrensburg, Missouri. I'm truly excited to turn the spotlight on you today, Allena.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let's get things started. This is your first visit here with me on Spotlight on the Arts. I've been looking forward to it for a while now, since we met at a meeting here a while back, but I've heard the name, and we'll kind of get into where that came from, as your association with an art association in your community. But I'd like to first, if I call you Allena by your first name, I would like to have you, if you would, share with the viewers a little about Allena Yates.
All right.
Look at the camera and worldwide, and tell them all about Allena Yates. You've got quite a history here.
So I was born just south of Carthage, Missouri, where my parents still live. And I went to school in Carthage and had an outstanding art teacher in high school, Howard South. And he taught me fundamentals of art. And then went on to get 2 biology degrees, one at Missouri Southern State College at that time, now university, and one at the University of Missouri-Columbia. I have a master's in biology. And my parents told me that art and music and theater were great for hobbies, but better have something else for a career. So I did the biology degrees, and I worked with the Missouri Ecotype Project, raising native wildflowers for a while. And then there was this fella named John Yates who was interested in me, and I was getting interested in him. And I moved out to California. That's
where John,
your
husband,
yes.
Our husband you hoped to be at that time, I guess.
Yes. And we both grew up in Missouri, but then when he graduated, he got a job with IBM and went out to California.
I see.
So I followed him out there and married him. And I started A-Rose Designs in 2002, right at the end of my graduate school.
I see.
And it started from making cards for people I loved, and then started reproducing those cards and selling them.
Right, right. Excellent. Well, you talk about reproduce. I think we left something out there as far as a little bit of background and John, how you met, and that has come to fruition, you can say. So share with everyone worldwide what that's all about.
All right. My husband was also my first client when I started the business in 2002. He ordered some cards for friends of his who were getting married and a few photographs for his walls. And I think that was, not that he didn't like them, but I think that was a little bit of courting me as well.
Courting, exercise.
Yes. So then we got married in 2004, and we have 6 children.
6 children. blessed with 6 children. Can you imagine? Yes, great. And I don't know if you want to name them. I know we have to watch a little bit, putting the children out there, but if you would like to say hello to them.
I'll just say hello to my young ones and those getting a bit older. I'd like to say hello to my mother, whose birthday is today.
Oh, happy birthday, Mother.
And my dad, and my husband and his family, and my children, and family and friends and clients, welcome and thank you for watching this.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, now, Allena, how did you become inspired first as an artist, shall we say? I go clear back to writing on the bedroom walls, and at 4 years old, and the people that bought the home after we left the farm, they saved that until I came home from Vietnam. So many years, 20-some years later, and it was still there. They said they didn't want to erase it or change the wallpaper because they thought I might become a great artist someday. So that was really nice of them. From 1945 or 46, 47 to, let's see, I visited the last time in 67 I came home from Nam. So what inspired you? I guess I just had it in my DNA, as I call it.
I think I did too. Mother never drew around us very much, but when she did, it was good. And the same with taking pictures. She just kind of stayed in the background, but she was good when she took pictures or drew or sang. And Daddy was a photographer. He's a bit past that now. He can't take pictures anymore, but he was my big photography mentor. He led my 4-H projects in photography several times and taught me a lot about framing the picture and how to get the good shot with some interest around it.
Yes.
And just the love of photography was passed on. I remember my junior prom, he took a picture of me. Maybe it was my senior prom, but anyway, he took a picture of me and he was just so excited because he knew it would be a good one, and we had it printed, and sure enough, it was a really nice picture. But that excitement for photography came from him. And I have 2 older sisters, one living, and they both were interested in art, and
so it became kind of a family affair. Now, art, I introduced her as an artist. And you know, my categories go from movie producers, actors, musicians, entertainers, what have you. So I introduced Allena as an artist. And that is you should say should we say gifted through, as you're hearing, and not only photography, but some artwork, and then singing. So then I guess to say you was inspired as a singer or into music, that's also started at home. Mom and Dad, they get the fiddle out and the banjo and et cetera at the home.
Well, it was a ukulele, not a banjo, but yes.
Okay.
And my parents, when I was little, they did, we'd have things at church and they would do skits, and Daddy had he always did peanut butter in the roof of his mouth. I can't talk, I have peanut butter in the roof of my mouth. And they did a sipping cider through a straw skit.
Oh my.
And so yeah, we had fun as a family.
So that's where it was created and basically, should we say, built. So that's good to hear. I know a lot of people worldwide again. You know, I can talk India, Pakistan, Brazil. Those are all family-oriented families, you know, and they all have the same things worldwide. So. And
it was a given when I was growing up that we would know how to play at least an instrument or two. We would know how to sing. We would know how to read music, and we would know something about how to draw.
Right.
So.
Well, so what would you say, or what continues to inspire you? Whom continues to inspire you in your artistic world of photography, singing, music, what have you?
Well, my parents still enjoy my work, and very often the first one of a series goes to them. Their house is about full though, so it's going to have to start getting sold instead. And then my family, of course, my husband supported it enough to use it as an entrance to my life. And he'll become the default parent for a little while and give me time to paint and that sort of thing.
And you've got 7 critics around the house.
Well, yes.
That
and that does help
giving
because
opinion. For example, today we try to decide which of the paintings or photography work, beg your pardon, will go on the mantle here. So we've chosen one, which is a butterfly, or should we say, I guess a butterfly of the family. This goes back to her studies in biology.
Yeah, it's a tiger swallowtail.
So she can see some of her work is so excellent. Well, it speaks well for you, your photography. I've even quite a bit of it now, preparing for the show. So it speaks well of you. We'll talk more about Allena's gift as a singer in the second half. So please stay with us after the break. Right now, you've got a website, and I think we ought to identify that. How would people get a hold of you if they want to, contact you for a photo shoot or for a piece of work or what have you? Can you give us how you're connected?
Yes. My website is A-Rose Designs with hyphens between the words. And there are hyphens between the words because in 2002, when I bought my domain, people weren't used to squishing everything together in the words yet. And then it's A-Rose, not Allena Volsky, as I was back then, because in 2002, I was hoping that I wouldn't be Volsky forever, so I used my first and middle name.
Excellent. Now, we'll show that on the timeline on a ticker tape below, so you can tune in. She's got some beautiful work to show you there. Now, are you on socials? Socials are a big part of our world now. So do you want to give out any socials, or do you have Facebook, Instagram?
Yes, I have a business Facebook page for A-Rose Designs, and then I have my personal profile on LinkedIn, and I have some links available to people there to get to my website.
Once you find one, you'll, if you get to the website, I'll bet you'll find the others.
Everything is linked from my website. And I'm working on starting a Rumble channel. I've recorded a couple of my paintings. And
excellent.
So I'm working on getting those up. But I'll have that linked from my main website when it's ready.
Okay, great. Well, we must take a break, Allena. Believe it or not, it's gone so fast already. So please make yourself comfortable while we look at these special messages, okay? After the break, Allena will share with us a look at how she finds through prime numbers, how she came about this through prime numbers and how they detect patterns in her artwork. Plus we'll share a lot more, as we say with the singer. In fact, a couple little signets, or whatever you want to call them, we'll share with you also worldwide. So, there's so much more here on Spotlight on the Arts. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
This facility doesn't look anything like it did when I first saw it. My very first job was right here making Levi's for the J.A. Lamy Manufacturing Company. The people who I worked for were great. It was hard work, and it was brutal, but the family that owned the building were fair and honest, and they were great to work for. I worked here 7 years. My father worked here 21 years, and my mother 10 years. And it was just a great place. I've never regretted it. I started out in the shipping department, and I graduated up into the cutting room and worked there spreading cloth for most of that period of time. Well, absolutely, Ginger Swearingen would have been the individual who I remember most. She was involved strongly with my acting opportunities, and she was director and producer, and she was fun to work for as well. I've known the whole family for quite a number of years, staff and John and Ginger and Woody, and they were all customers in our business, and they've just done a beautiful job with this. It's just beautiful, and the people that I talk to who have been customers here and visitors have all enjoyed it a great deal. Everyone talks about the quality of the food, and it's just a very entertaining place, and I'm looking forward to it.
The age of innovation, GIA's global media, fueling your imagination. Ooh, yeah. From streaming TV to songs, we're taking it to heights. Rick J presents treasured moments inside. Oh, feel for free. We're breaking the mold. Breaking the mold. Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Behold. Independent artists reaching far and wide, far and wide. In this new age wave, love it, enjoy the ride. Oh yeah.
Roku, Apple TV, and Fire Stick users, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Go to Add a Channel. Search for Global Media OTT. Scroll down to Rick J Presents and find Lonesome Road Ministries TV channel.
Welcome back, everyone, to Spotlight on the Arts. I continue with my conversation, my chat, with a special guest from Warrensburg, Missouri, artist, singer, musician, Allena Yates. So let's turn to you, Allena. Allena, before the break, we shared a lot of information, and so let's continue along those lines of thought and expression. I'd like to ask you how you discovered what I mentioned a few minutes ago about prime numbers, how they've come about, and how they affect your artwork.
Okay. I'm not real sure how they affect my artwork. I haven't ever gone through to look and see if I use a lot of prime numbers in it. I do know it's very common to use 3, 5, or 7 elements in a picture. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 primes they help it feel more balanced. Yes. And more interesting.
We deal with prime numbers every day in perspective. Our scheduling throughout the day of our 3 main jobs we get. So that's a prime number. You think 3,
yeah, they
7, can be. They do affect us now, so I can see where they would affect a person's artwork or photography, because you're dealing with perspective. You're dealing with foreground. You're dealing with different elements. So I can see where that, if I'm helping you out at all, explain it. Go ahead and see how you see it.
If in floral decorating, it's common too that you'll use elements of 3 or 5, or some prime number, not 2 or 4. 4 especially can tend to divide something into quadrants and make it feel like it's not all one thing. course, those aren't hard and fast rules. There are plenty of exceptions people can figure out. But what I've always kind of been interested in prime numbers. But when I was growing up, I had a terrible time memorizing the multiplication table and addition, subtraction tables, and a real hard time with division. And then when I was teaching my own children, I made them tables for addition and subtraction and multiplication. And as I made those tables and studied them, I started to get a feel for the patterns in multiplication especially, and just how beautiful it was. And I also made see-through sheets with 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 3. So if you stack them all together, it's a 100 chart. So it's got 10, 20, 30, 40, 1 to 100. And then it has each multiplication fact on its own sheet. So if you stack them together and hold them up to the light, you see the primes. If you take out the ones, you see the primes from 1 to 100 in the ones that aren't colored anything.
Interesting, interesting.
So that was kind of neat.
Now you
But
homeschool your children.
Yes.
Kelby is homeschooled. So,
I-
you know, that is a great thing too, I think, where you do not put your children somewhat into the other workings of life and stresses and stuff like that. So
And I do have
admire
3.
your
Thank you.
effort there also.
I do have 3 who are in high school now, and we went ahead and put them in
I
public
see.
school this year.
Prepare them,
But
sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the teachers at their school are real good, and I was pleased with what they were able to do.
Right.
So we went ahead and did that.
Okay.
But then teaching them, I finally learned my multiplication table. And then I don't even remember why I tried it, but I thought of a number and I pulled up a prime checker to see if it was prime. And it was. So I tried another one and it probably wasn't. But I tried 10 or 20 of them and a whole bunch of them were prime. And I was like, why can I do this? And I have to be in the right sort of frame of mind to be able to do it. But sometimes I can just name off numbers, and then when it feels right that there are no more I need to name, I'll check it and it's a prime. So
it kind of brings you around. You know, primes are part of our life. I have a lady friend I interviewed years ago that she listens to music, and the music actually dictates to her the colors to be used in her paintings. Now they have a name for that. And I'm researching a little bit with Allena about the primes, and how that might have a title, but I did not find anything on it. But it's interesting how she sees it in numbers and prime numbers, but yet as an artist, I deal with the same thing, but from a different perspective, shall we say, or mindset.
And the internal feeling when I've got a prime is similar to the feeling when you catch your breath, you click the shutter, when I know that I've got a great shot and it's time to click the shutter. Or I'm doing a painting and that last stroke goes on and I don't want to touch it anymore. It's a similar feeling that this is right, it doesn't need any more.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I'm sure that the viewers are going to find that very interesting, as I do. Well, we need to move on. What is your favorite subject matter and materials used in a project?
I really like watercolor florals to sit down and do. And I tend toward a science illustration, and I applied for a science illustration program a couple of times. And then I was invited to apply the 3rd time, but I was getting married and decided to be open to having my oldest son come instead. So I didn't get the degree in science illustration, but I still have a big interest there. So I tend toward that. If I'm painting something, it might not be super detailed, but the details that are in there, I want them to be right as much as I can.
Sure, sure.
And so the watercolor florals are really fun. I've gotten into painting birds in the last few years.
Right. Now this bird, It's a photograph, and what's it called again?
This is a
to your home.
Yes, this is a cedar waxwing. And for the last several years, we've had a flock come through a couple times a year and sit in our cedar tree. And they would just come and eat and go again. And this year we had so many berries on that tree or something that they came and they stayed for 5 or 6 weeks.
Wow.
And toward the end of that time, I bought a photo blind and set it up 15 or 20 feet away from the tree and got this one.
Oh, excellent.
So that was just a couple weeks ago.
Your photography speaks well for you also. Well, let's go ahead and turn to another one of your passions we lightly covered in the first half. And that's so share with us, the viewers, how you found your interest in singing. More or less, we kind of covered that. To move on, I guess, with family. But that's, so now you just, after you sort of, I guess, got the kids growing up and you found more time, or did you lullaby them?
Well, I lullabied them and I made up
along.
little songs for them when they were babies.
I kind of suspicion that.
Yes.
Okay.
But
good.
my family did not like my singing voice that well until I got into college and took voice lessons. So we all sang as a family, but they didn't like my operatic attempts that much until I had some voice lessons.
Speaking of that, I think we have a couple pieces that you shared with me. Why don't we go ahead and turn to them? Can you introduce this first one that you would like to share with the folks? We'll present a little bit of that.
Okay. Schubert's Ave Maria has been one of my favorites for a long time. A friend of mine sang it at our wedding, and I think that's when it became one of my favorite songs. So I decided to learn it, and I did, and it became kind of my thing. I would sing it at around Christmas time I did it for the not Mid-Missouri Artists, the artist group in California that I was in, the East Valley Artists. And I done it at church a number of years.
Right.
And one time I sang it in a church with fantastic acoustics, and a priest asked me to record it. So ever since then I've been.
So this is what we're going to present. Well, let's turn to that now and take a listen to Allena. Ave Maria, Allena Yates. Well, thank you, Allena. That was great. It sounded good. Thanks for sharing it with us here worldwide. I want to go back, though, before we go any further. And I know that you was interested in music as you spoke and singing, what have you, back in the days of high school. And also, I think Carnegie Hall comes up in your repertoire. Can you tell us a little bit about those two experiences?
When I was, after my junior year of high school, I went with the Missouri Ambassadors of Music, and we sang, well, I played clarinet. There was a choir and a band, and I was in the band. And we played in 5 different countries in Europe. And that was a fantastic experience.
Yes.
And I made a friend on that trip named Matt he encouraged me to sing. And then when I was in college and started taking voice lessons, I ended up having the same voice teacher he did, Marguerite Carney. And she was fantastic. I don't think she's still alive, but she was a fantastic teacher.
Yes.
And then when I went to graduate school, I was in the choir there and had an opportunity with Dr. Harrison Boughton to go sing with the group in Carnegie Hall.
Oh, excellent.
So I did that the winter of 2003. And that was a fantastic experience. And sitting in Carnegie Hall listening to the other groups was almost as nice as singing there myself, because it's just marvelous place to listen.
Well, that's great that you've taken your early experiences as a family life and music and what have you, and you've applied it in Phantom of the Opera and at Carnegie Hall under some really great production and direction. So thanks for sharing that. That's really shows that Allena is sort of a rounded out person. She's got all these talents.
And I knew I was getting older when I realized I was too old to be cast as Christine.
I see, yes. Well, you've definitely had your hands full as a family, and understand that. You do have your hands full, but you also are involved in the local art group in Warrensburg, Missouri, known as the Mid-Missouri Artists. So please share with the viewers your position and what that organization means to you. And should we say Missouri residents? They have a big active role they play in the Missouri State Fair and locally. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about, if you can, the Mid-Missouri Artists group.
I joined the Mid-Missouri Artists pretty much as soon as I could find it after we moved to Missouri, back to Missouri. And they serve the Warrensburg area and somewhat over to Sedalia and Clinton and surrounding areas. They have 2 art shows a year that members are invited to participate in. One has a fee and one doesn't. The Spring Art Show is coming up May 4th and 5th of 2024, and it will be at the Warrensburg Community Center.
Yes.
And then we also have a summer exhibition at the university that members are invited to participate in. And then we have a hanging system at the community center, and right now our challenge from last year is hanging up. Our theme was rusty. So my submission for that, I have 2 photographs of rusty things. I've got a baby goat on a rusty wheelbarrow and a goldfinch on a rusty wire. And then I painted a bluebird on a rusty fence post and used some rust on the final layer on the orange parts of the bluebird.
Well, sounds good. I do know I'm a member of the Mid-Missouri Artists, and I'm proud to say that I am, and I know the role that they play in the community and other communities like Sedalia, Missouri, and an association with the Missouri State Fair, and also in Clinton, Missouri, just south of Warrensburg on Highway 13. So I speak well for them also. Well, Allena, we're about out of time. So do you have any closing words you'd like to pass on to the viewers worldwide again? Maybe they've got into a lull or are afraid to pick up the camera or the paintbrush because they don't think they could handle it or whatever. I was always intimidated by oil paintings, but now I love them. So do you have any closing inspiring words for our viewers?
I would say there's so many rules that we make around art, and especially with children. Don't copy that painting, that's plagiarism. Well, sort of. If you say what it is and don't try to sell it, don't present it as your own work if you copy, but practice. You can practice by copying anything you want to. Just be honest about how you did it. And don't be afraid to use the supplies you can afford. Don't be so afraid of making a masterpiece on cheap supplies that you don't paint on the cheap supplies. And if you graduate to the better supplies, don't be so afraid of ruining the supplies that you're afraid to paint on them. Use supplies that give you confidence that your final piece will have value in relative to what you start with. I started drawing on the back of scratch paper that Daddy brought home from his job at Missouri Southern, because that was what we did. But now I draw on paper that's
well,
reproducible.
Very good. You know, you made one point. I want to make a point in this show, as I tried to in the other shows, that you don't have to compare. Your artwork is your freedom. It's from your heart, from your mind. You don't have to compare. You might want to get into a show and be compared. You might have a painting or something that takes first place and you didn't even realize it. So you don't so much look for that reward, because everything that you do, put together, whether it's crafts, art, photography, it has value. Value to you, maybe your family. So anything you partake in the world of art, acting, it has value. So keep that in mind, if you would. Well, we're about ready to close. So did you have any then, a farewell, not a message, but we got to close out basically the show, Spotlight on the Arts. I'm so proud to have you here and honored to have you share your story with us. You have any closing words for us?
Well, I thank you for having me on, and
well, thank you. Very nice. I guess I can open it. Right?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Maybe they'd like to see the picture too.
Oh my, yes.
That was a picture that I had the idea, and then found a picture of a tulip and a picture of a chick in a child's hand, and put them together in a painting.
Excellent. Oh, nice. That's definitely watercolors, which I'm intimidated by. Watercolors, the color of love. That's beautiful. A chick and a tulip for springtime in Missouri. Thank you so much. That will go on my wall with the rest of my artists as have contributed major talent as far as it reaches my heart that you would take time to give me this, Allena. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, once again, thank you for being my guest, and I look forward to seeing you at the meetings, and maybe we'll have a follow-up
that sounds like fun.
At some point. So I'm going to take my sneak sheet here and make sure I don't miss anything. So I just want to say, it's Rick J saying, stay healthy and safe. Don't forget to subscribe to the streaming network channel called GIAJ Global Media OTT Network, which we're hooked to Roku and Apple TV and also Amazon Fire. So you'll see more than 200 artist interviews with all types of artists. So I want to say thank you for viewing, and I guess all I can say is basically hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Both of them are higher ones.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Is that good?
Yeah, is that same with yours too?
That's kind of down. Oh, yeah. We'll be sitting against it.
There, now
As far as